In my previous video, I said that I wasn't exactly sure how I would break up this anthology for the purposes of reviewing it, but that at a minimum I would make at least one video for each section. So this anthology is divided into 4 periods: the Archaic period, the Classical period, the Mature period, and the Late period. And as it happened, I've finished off the Archaic period in just one day. The Archaic period is a very short period. It doesn't look like there was all that much available literature on the Archaic period. Now, as the editor of this edition, Benjamin R. Foster, makes clear, none of these periods are exhaustive in this anthology. So this is not all the material from the Archaic period that exists. But nevertheless, you get the impression that there wasn't that much to choose from filling out this period. So I'm going to go through and briefly talk about what was in this period. I don't have anything intelligent to say about any of it, fair warning. But I'm just going to go through it and go over what I read. Now, there's an interesting introduction to this book, a general introduction, which talks about Akkadian literature and history in general, which I'm not going to talk about because if I do talk about it, I'll save that for my review of the book as a whole. But I'm going to jump over just to... Here we go, the Archaic period. So 2300 BC to 1850 BC. They have a little introduction here, not much, just a couple paragraphs. One thing I found was interesting here, this last bit here, it says, this earliest Semitic literature was written with Sumerian word signs, interspersed with occasional Semitic words or portions of words. Since these most ancient texts did not survive in later versions to compare with them, they cannot at present be translated beyond connecting with impressionistic guesses some of the few words and expressions that seem understandable. So I thought that was interesting because I was under the impression that we could translate Sumerian. But I guess not, or maybe this is different than regular Sumerian. I'm not quite sure what that means, actually. Maybe that could have been phrased a little bit clearer for the general reader. And I think this book actually is aimed more at the general reader than the scholar. But anyways, moving on. We have a poem here called The Valorous Sun, which imagines the sun as a heroic warrior. As you can see, it's quite short. Most of these are quite short. I'm going to try to resist the temptation to just read the whole thing, even though I probably could. Just because, I probably could, meaning I physically could. There wouldn't be a problem with the timing of the video to just read out this whole thing. But I think that might be violating fair use. So my impression would be that obviously anything from Akkadian literature passed into the public domain a long time ago, but the translations here are probably under copyright. So I'm going to try not to read anything in its entirety and just go through and comment on it generally. So it's interesting, it's short. Something that I found was interesting here is that the rest of the text is mostly untranslatable. So, I guess this gets to the problem of translating this in our evolving understanding of these ancient languages where we're still struggling to understand it. Here is a star incantation, and again, this gets back to the problems of translation. It's unclear if the sufferer is a sick person afflicted by a demon or a woman having a difficult childbirth. And throughout the notes seem to indicate either meaning. So is this to prepare for a successful childbirth? Question mark. Is it the sufferer or is it the child to be born? Question mark. So again, I guess our understanding of archaic Akkadian is still evolving here. Then we get to the old Akkadian literature, and this is the editor's introduction here, where we get some interesting historical background here about the rise of Sargon of Akkad and his the dynasty he established. So it looks like the previous power center was Kish and Uruk, I guess. And then Sargon established arguably the first empire, depending on your definition of empire. And then he had a grandson, Naram-Sin, who also had a series of conquests. Some interesting historical background there. And then we get to some of the surviving documents here. So here is an account of Sargon's victories here. And another one over here. And then we get to Naram-Sin and the Great Revolt. So there was a coalition against Naram-Sin, which, the two focal points of resistance to him were Kish and Uruk. I guess these were powerful cities in Mesopotamia at the time. So here is the list of the people he defeated. And the account of the battle, which is somewhat interesting to read. I mean, none of this is really interesting to read. It's all a bit dry, but I take it back. It's interesting. There's some narrative tension here. Talks about how the characters trembled in fear. Talks about their plans. Talked about how Naram-Sin defeated them. But the really interesting thing with all of this is the editor's introduction, where he says that the events narrated here were the inspiration for literary works from the classical period. So the classical period is the next period in this anthology. But it looks like this rather dry historical account here becomes the basis of epic narratives and later retellings that lay more emphasis on the attack than on the victory. And the enemies have become supernatural with outlandish names. So it looks like this later became an important legend in that area. So that's interesting. And then Naram-Sin became deified in his lifetime. So the citizens made him into a god. And there's a little inscription about that survives here. Then we have incantations. This one is against a demon. You can see it's only a paragraph long. Against the evil eye. Again, you can see it's just a paragraph long. A love charm here, which is divided into 6 sections, A, B, C, D, E, and F, and the description of what is going on in each section. And then section 1.5 here is old Akkadian letters. So do not sit on a chair. The meaning, don't sit on a chair because you have to come quickly. So you don't have time to sit. And it's just a short paragraph long, but this is something used humorous intent. So it's using a flowery style flowery style, but with humorous intent here. And then a completely different genre. Here is a letter about what to do with the predatory Gutians. So the Gutians were bandits, and I think these were credited with the destruction of the city of, it's spelled Agad here, but more commonly known, I think, as Akkad. So they destroyed the Sargon of Akkad's empire a few generations later. And then we have Old Assyrian literature. So one of the things I've been learning as I've been beginning my journey here through Akkadian literature is that Babylonian and Assyrian are both different dialects of Akkadian. So Assyrian is Akkadian, Babylonian is Akkadian. They're different forms of Akkadian here. So the editor makes the point here that the Old Assyrian selections translated here are closer in date to the classical period than to the Archaic period, but they're included here with the Archaic works to stress that the Old Assyrian literature developed independently, and it was not just a local version of the classical Akkadian literature. So I guess the focus of the classical period otherwise would have been in Babylon. So we have here Sargon, Lord of Lies, which is a parody of some of the earlier stuff we were looking at with Sargon of Akkad. And in fact, the editor notes some of the intertextuality of this. So here, flipping back a few pages to Sargon the Victorious, a description celebrating Sargon as the universal king. We see Sargon the King. Enil is one of the gods, gave him no rival. 5,400 men eat every day before him. But then we have the note. Let's see, where's the note? The note isn't where I thought it was going to be. Okay. Hold on here 1 second. I seem to have messed this up. I thought I remembered a note being right here. Okay, maybe I'm misremembering where the note was. There was a note somewhere that said that this would later be parodied in the later poem. This is going to bug me now. Okay, but going over here again. Sorry about that. I could have sworn the note was right there. I guess I should have double-checked that before I started filming. Over here to the Assyrian parody. It talks about the warriors eating before Sargon of Akkad, but in this version they're eating burnt meat because his cook burned it. So it's turning back to something that was previously there and showing how in the Assyrian literature they were making fun of Sargon. And this whole thing is a parody of Sargon, but it's hard to read because, as the editor says, a lot of it is based on wordplay. And as you're going through it, there are all these footnotes, and thankfully the footnotes are at the bottom of the page. That, it's not one of those books that makes you flip to the back to find all those notes. So that's nice. But you can see how much of it is wordplay. So wordplay, wordplay. And all of this is wordplay here. So I mean, it's nice that the notes alert you to what the wordplay is, but you read through this and all you can think is, okay, I guess this must have made more sense in the original language. Or, you're alerted to the fact that there's wordplay going on here by the notes, but you can't really appreciate it yourself. And then finally we finish out with some incantations. She is singular. This is against the malevolent Lamashtu demon. And she is furious. This is also against the Lamashtu demon. And then an incantation against dogs. And then that's it. The next section is the classical period, which will be longer. So I guess I'll presumably have more to say about the classical period when I get to it. But yeah, this is, I guess, an overview of the Archaic period of Akkadian literature and what I read from this book. All right.